So Mahakala. The painting of Mahakala came about from Jojo at a festival out in Bali called Bali Spirit Fest. And he met an artist named Luke Brown, who is of this visionary art school of Alex Gray. And he painted this amazing piece called, it's called Mahakala. And up to then, I'd never been introduced to the mythology. It's from Tibetan mythology. And he's the deity. When you see the picture, it looks like a monk praying in front of the hellfires to looks like he's like trying to be peaceful in front of a demon that's coming to attack him. And what I love about that image, and you were just asking about what's a message that I would like people to get from it. One is that what's going on in the image is nothing what you think is actually happening. He's actually praying to Mahakala for protection. It's very different from our idea of like hell, because we see fire, we think hell, but it's actually the fire of purification. And we see this monstrosity, but it appears to be a demon. Mahakala, by my understanding, is actually more akin to the angel of death in Christian mythology, which seems like a demon coming to you, but when you release and give over and humble yourself, you realize how beautiful Mahakala actually is. It looks in the image that he's attacking the monk with a knife, with this big hook knife. But the hook knife is actually the knife to cut open his ego, so that he can actually surrender. And it's almost like it's almost like the Old Testament God. It's the tough side of God that wants to come in and teach you the hard lesson. And I love that part. I love that they pray to that aspect of the divine for protection. And he was like the Buddha. He actually was transcending and then decided to come back to the planet until all souls were enlightened. And he's like the tough love. And one other point that I like in that image is that you see the skulls. A lot of people see the skulls and they immediately think dark images, but they're actually the 5 Kleshas, and they're the 5 poisons, and he has the antidote to the 5 poisons of the ego, and he's coming to bring that to people.
So the Kleshas, that's yoga terminology.
Is that where that's from? And it's I wonder if I can remember the 5. It depends on for the different ones I was reading. There was like some had 3, some had 5, some had I think 7 or 9. But I liked the 5. In that image, he has the 5 skulls, and I think a lot of the Mahakalas you see, they have the 5 skulls. And I should know them by heart right now, and I'm embarrassed because I don't. A lot of the classics like envy, arrogance, something to do with sloth,
greed, lust.
It's a lot of the classic.
Yeah.
There's the Western, the Christian names for them. I believe fear is one of them too, which I love it. And I know in the Muslim 9 sins, as opposed to the Christian 7, that they also have deceit and fear. And I like when the mythologies that have fear as a sin. Not sin's a heavy word, but as a klesha. How about we'll use that?
Well, sin is in yogic thinking is really only missing the mark, right?
Exactly. That's the actual definition of the word, right?
Yeah.
And fear. It's interesting how much Americans, not to pick on my own culture, but how much we suffer from the 2 that don't exist in our mythology. We've got the 7 deadly sins, and we're missing fear and deceit. And so that's a nice one to think about sometimes. That fear is a major missing the mark, especially when looking at that image.
And your imagery for Shangri-La, your T-shirt has also a Indic, Vedic, Tantra kind of yantra thing.
Got the yantra, and this was a different artist, and he, I really like his style. I actually don't know the specifics behind the intention of this. I know that the original piece that he made for Shangri-La of the old man, have you seen that one? The one that's sitting and it's got a lot of sacred geometry and he's floating in the clouds, and we used that on the interior. We used the background on the interior of the CD. And so the idea of the CD was that you see it and you see the fires of purification, and that image is very dark and fiery. And then his surrender to Mahakala allows, when you open the CD, you get this feeling that you're entering into Shangri-La.
And you actually give your listeners a mantra in one of the songs, right?
We do several, actually.
Yeah.
Which one are you referring to?
Well, Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya, yeah.
Stands out as being another name for Mahakala.
Yeah. And that was a beautiful one to research too, to put in there. And we were debating which mantra to put in that song, actually.
And,
that one
and what
felt
other
like
mantras are in which tracks?
Well, in English, we're trying to do, I mean, I don't know if it's technically a mantra if it's in English, but...
if you use it that way, if it takes away the mind.
That is the idea, and part of the idea that we wanted to do it is it's so fun. I feel like there's such a healing power in groups singing together. And, I mean, I come from, my last name is Murphy, so I come from the Irish drinking, which is a different energy and style, but the one thing they really have as a community is the singing together. And when you go to Ireland, that's what they do. They always just sing together. And there's such unity and community built through that. And so we wanted to put more of that feeling of that choral singing on there so that when we could play shows live, people would know those words and it would become a mantra that we could all do live together. And it's really nice to be sometimes in really random places like bars, and suddenly you're singing a mantra with a bunch of your friends, and it's a beautiful moment. And so like one, for example, in the song Lose Your Mind, prior to the Om Namah Shivaya, we do to find your heart, you've got to lose your mind. To sing that one over again, it's a nice one to remember. Or the I Got You in the song Shangri-La. It's a nice, I feel like there's several meanings to that phrase. And it's a nice one to sing to somebody and have someone singing to you. It feels good.
So how would you describe the Wookiefoot tribe and the roles of the different band members? You mentioned Jojo and sourcing the artwork, and he's not here today.
He's not. He's preparing to go back out into the world. We have a very large and diverse group. He's actually the founding member. Me and him have been friends since high school, actually, and we started this in Oregon about 14 years ago, I suppose. And it's funny, we had every ridiculous intention that you would have sitting around in your living room, sitting around dreaming what you would want in 10 years. And it's so surpassed everything that we ever imagined that would be. But we really wanted to build a sense of community. And a large part of that initial seed was opening the door up, instead of just being like we're a 5-member band, to be like, we had so many friends that were amazing artists, both in performance and in visual arts, all different kinds of arts, and we wanted to incorporate that into the show, so it felt more like a community, an Amish barn raising, if you will, as opposed to somewhere between Amish barn raising and a Cirque du Soleil. And over the years, that community kept growing, and we kept meeting more and more artists, and now it's really taken off. So he's going out into the world to go find more of that, while we kind of sit here, we tour and release the CD. But he was integral with me writing the CD. Me and him really wrote that together. But it's funny because then he doesn't even get to be here for the release shows. He's just the one show at Shangri-La and he's out.
Is this the first release, or you did a show before this just recently in Rochester?
We did last night in Rochester.
Okay. And what about Minneapolis? Is that home for you, or
that is well, as much as home is a home these days. But we've got starting to sow seeds in different places like Hawaii and in Bali as well. But definitely I call Minneapolis home. And our CD release there will be at the weekend before Halloween this year. So that's exciting to every time we get to do the CD release in our hometown is always a really fun time. So.
Good.
Oh, excuse me.
Anything else that you'd like to share with people in Bemidji?
Oh, good people of Bemidji. This is our first time up here, which is really exciting. And it seems like a lot of people are coming out. We feel very supported and loved, and it's great.
Well, that full moon is awesome timing. So you've picked a really good night for a release party and a party, for bringing your tribe together, that part of it that lives here. Mm-hmm. So thank you for coming.
Right on. Thank you so much.